Every year, we get a new Call of Duty campaign, but with this video, I'm going to go into the top 10 Call of Duty missions of all time, spanning across the entire Call of Duty franchise, and you may have seen a top 10 video like this before, but the difference is, this one is correct. So starting off at number 10, we have the opening mission of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which is Crew Expendable, and the reason this mission makes it on the list is because it's a stark reminder of the first mission we ever got to play that wasn't set in World War II, but instead the modern day. Long gone were the battlefields of France, with this mission taking place on a shipping freighter in the Bering Strait in the middle of a thunderstorm. Operators descend from helicopters above as you sneak through the ship, taking out sleeping Russians as you get your first taste of modern combat.
Go. Clear left.
But eventually the mission goes sideways as the ship begins to sink, leading to an epic set piece of your team trying to escape the sinking ship. And as the freighter begins to tilt, you witness some pretty awesome looking water effects that are still pretty impressive even today as you make your way across the deck, ultimately diving into the back of a helicopter to make your epic escape. Looking back as the last signs of light slip beneath the waves, culminating in an epic mission. And at number 9, we have Operation Tonga from Call of Duty Vanguard. One of the most visually impressive missions in all of Call of Duty in my opinion. This mission begins with you as a British paratrooper dropping in behind enemy lines during D-Day, cut off from your allies and with no weapons. This adds a huge sense of tension as you're sneaking through enemy lines, being hunted by the enemy in a forest where the only way the darkness is illuminated is by the gunfire of enemy gun batteries. But the tension isn't lifted by giving you a weapon, as ammo is extremely scarce by giving you a bolt-action rifle with only 2 shots as you sneak and fight your way through French farmhouses. But eventually you'll link up with other British paratroopers and raid the enemies in a nearby French village, and this is when the game gives you your first taste of giving orders, as you can actually order where your allies attack the enemy, which is pretty cool. But ultimately, this mission ends with a huge action set piece as you and your allies assault German bunkers on the beach. Which gives the mission a really cool contrast as you start the mission sneaking around evading enemy patrols, but end the mission with really intense and gritty trench combat. And at number 8, we have a mission from the newest Call of Duty game, Black Ops 6, and this mission is Hunting Season. The mission takes place in Iraq during Desert Storm and starts out pretty straightforward as you're taking out Iraqis in a cave system. Your primary objective being to take out 3 Iraqi Scud launchers in the region, but what makes this mission interesting is that it actually takes place in a semi-open world. You can take out these objectives in any way in order you see fit, but what really makes this mission interesting is that there's actually more points of interest that you can visit outside of the primary objectives, such as stumbling across a crashed Delta Force helicopter and helping those Delta Force defend against an enemy attack. Completing these side activities actually changes the way you can play the mission by granting you new abilities like being able to call in air support. Or if you explore and take out all the anti-air emplacements, you can call in a chopper gunship that'll come in handy when the enemies are attacking your base. I just love that the more you play this mission, the more you get out of it, and I would love to see missions like this in future Call of Duty games and different battlefields. And coming in at number 7, we have the mission Victor Charlie from the original Call of Duty Black Ops, and I love this mission because of how well it handles its many themes. And what I mean by that is the mission starts out pretty chaotic as your helicopter crashes in the middle of a river in a jungle in Vietnam. And as you fight your way from the crash site, the mission starts to slow itself down and change into more of a stealth mission as you sneak through a VC village using only your knife, placing C4 charges as you go, and I love that if you're paying attention, the weather is constantly going from sunshine to rain, adding more immersion to the jungle setting. But eventually you'll blow the C4 charges, destroying the village and engaging in combat with the Viet Cong, changing the theme from a stealth mission into an action set piece. But as more Americans are dropped off by helicopter, you start to go through the village until you come across a Viet Cong tunnel, which changes the theme once again, as navigating these claustrophobic tunnels adds a sense of horror that is not in the rest of the mission. But ultimately you escape the collapsing tunnels by diving out into a helicopter, but really what this mission does well is show that a Call of Duty mission doesn't just have to do one thing, it can actually do multiple things with multiple themes and do them all well. And at number 6 we have the mission Red Light Green Light from Black Ops Cold War. And though this mission starts out pretty straightforward as you and Woods are sneaking through the woods trying to infiltrate a secret Soviet facility, things make an interesting turn once you get inside, as the inside of this facility is set up to look like small town USA and serves as a training ground for Soviet troops planning to potentially invade the United States. But what I find so interesting about this is that we as Call of Duty players have actually played through these training ground missions before in other Call of Duty games, but in this mission we're actually ambushing the Soviet troops going through these training exercises. But ultimately, it's just cool to fight your way through a mock-up of 80s USA, ultimately leading to a finale where you and Woods take an enemy APC, fight your way through the training grounds, destroying the town and ultimately making your escape. It's one of those missions where it's not just about what you're doing, but where you're doing it that makes it so unique. And coming in at number 5, we have the mission The Battle of the Bulge from Call of Duty World War II. And what I love so much about this mission is it has a really strong sense of place, as when you see these freezing soldiers, you believe you are in the freezing Ardennes forest, and I love that one of your first objectives is just to simply deliver a box of ammunition to an allied machine gun on the other side of the front line, and when you're doing this, you can really explore the environment and see all of its hidden details. I also love that this mission takes place on Christmas Day, so whenever you drop off the ammunition, you actually place it underneath a hastily made GI Christmas tree. But after a while of being on watch, you eventually fall back further into the base, but that's when all hell breaks loose as the enemy begins their offensive in the Ardennes forest. Trees are falling over and exploding. It's all out chaos as you make your way to your foxhole, and that's when the mission really starts. Where the frontline combat is so intense that you have to radio for air support, and this is when the mission transfers you over to said air support, which is a really fun section of the game as you're dogfighting and shooting down German aircraft, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. But eventually you're transferred back to the front lines where the most intense combat of this mission takes place. Your front line is being overrun by German infantry and tanks until eventually the air support that you're playing as shows up to save the day. But what I really love about this mission is it uses two narrative devices, playing as a frontline soldier and as a combat pilot, and weaves them together to tell a contained little story. And coming in at number 4, we're going to cheat a little bit and talk about two missions of their own accord in Second Son from Modern Warfare 2, just because they basically are just one long mission with a loading screen in between, but either way, I love this war zone of a mission taking place at the Battle of the Washington Monument. But one of the things I love about this mission is it's obviously World War III, but it has the visual aesthetic of all the trench warfare and barbed wire of what we'd see in a battlefield of World War I. Playing as United States Marines as we battle in our nation's capital is super intense, shooting down helicopters and tanks with a javelin at the Washington Monument, ultimately leading to a helicopter section where our helicopter gets shot down, and that's when the second part of the mission begins. But if you've played this mission, you know the truly unique part of the second half is really the EMP. Helicopters and airplanes start falling out of the sky. It's a pretty apocalyptic situation, but what's really cool is the mission goes from a loud war zone scenario to a pretty quiet, intense environment as the soldiers deal with the aftermath of the EMP. Not to mention the EMP affects gameplay, as well as all of your electronic devices like your red dot sights don't work anymore, and the mission actually encourages you to use your iron sights, which is really cool. And coming in at number 3, we have the mission Vendetta from Call of Duty World at War. And guys, this mission is a masterpiece with a horrific intro, which has you basically playing dead amongst your dead allies at a massacre in Stalingrad, hoping the German patrols don't notice that you're still alive. But as you crawl your way through the dead, you realize there's another survivor, Reznov, a sniper with an injured hand that wants you to take his sniper rifle and help him assassinate a German officer hiding in the ruins of Stalingrad. And so begins a fantastic mission of cat and mouse sniping as you take out enemies at opportune moments as you make your way through the city looking for Reznov's target. And after almost getting caught a few times, you ultimately meet up with some Soviet allies and assault the assassination target's outpost, as you wait for the perfect moment to take out your prey. But at the end of the day, what I love so much about this mission is it feels like an action-packed version of All Gillied Up, but set in the active war zone of Stalingrad. And coming in at number 2, we have a mission from Call of Duty 2, The Battle of Point Du Hoc. And guys, we have attacked the beaches of Normandy in many Call of Duty games, but none did it better than Call of Duty 2. This mission is absolutely fantastic. I love the whole set piece where you're climbing up the cliffs with the ropes, people are getting knocked down, it's so intense, but what's really cool is once you get to the top of the cliffs, this D-Day mission is pretty freeform. Do you go off to the right and enter the damaged bunker system fighting Germans inside the bunkers? Or do you move down through the trenches assaulting German machine gun positions? The choice is ultimately up to you how you navigate this part of the mission, eventually leading to a French town at the back of the beach as you clear the town looking for the German artillery positions. With the mission ultimately leading you back to the beach to take out the last remaining German bunker sweeping the beach, but at the end of the day, I really just love that this mission feels like a huge living battle, and it actually gives the player an opportunity to choose how you want to navigate this mission.
Many casualties, over.
And at number 1, we have the mission All Gillied Up. And guys, you know, if you've played Call of Duty 4, you know this is one of the best missions in the entire franchise. It's the mission that everybody points to when they want to say that Call of Duty can do stealth missions and do them well. In fact, they knocked it so far out of the park that they haven't been able to duplicate this level of quality in a stealth mission since.
Dead ahead. Take him out. Beautiful.
Playing as a young Captain Price as you sneak through the highly radioactive ruins of Pripyat introduce some concepts into Call of Duty that had never before been seen. Instead of focusing on huge action set pieces, this mission encourages you to slow things down and only take out enemies when an opportunity presents itself.
That's how it's done.
Sneaking past groups of enemies as opposed to engaging them added a high sense of tension that Call of Duty had never seen. Not to mention the truly epic moment where a huge convoy is passing through a field and your only hope of survival is to stay still and hope they don't spot you in your ghillie suit. At the end of the day, All Ghillied Up is the mission that proved that Call of Duty missions didn't just have to be shooting galleries, but instead had more to offer.
Beautiful.
Well guys, you made it to the end. Thank you for watching this video on my top 10 favorite Call of Duty missions of all time. This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you guys. And remember that this is my list. Your list can be different. The only difference is your list is wrong and mine is right. But either way, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments what you think as far as what your favorite Call of Duty missions are, because, you know, I like reading that kind of stuff. But guys, that's all I have for this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.